All right, Enem, Philly's finest, legend in the game, representing West Coast, East Coast connection.
You already know. Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, Dregs.
Thank you, bro. I've been a fan of your work for a long time, man.
Appreciate that, man. You know, it's been a long time, though. I ain't gonna lie. It's been a long time. I love
Yeah,
this game.
yeah. You're definitely on veteran status at this point.
Yeah. You know, when I was younger, we used to be like, yo, I'm down for life. But we never really thought what life meant. Now that I'm an adult, I've been living it. And I'm like, yeah, I probably spoke the truth. I spoke, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, be the writer that I am.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, that it's crazy. Like the culture is getting older. Like we're growing with the culture, and we see like it's no expiration date on this art form.
Absolutely not. I mean, a lot of people thought that with adding the internet that it was going to do something culturally destructive to graff, like destroy graff in its essence and purity. But really all it did was spread it and make us talk about it more and kind of differentiate what was good and what was bad, evolve all the tools, connect more people at different places, create more spots. I try to look at the internet as just a tool. And as graph writers, I expect us to do what we do with all tools, right? And work it towards our advantage. And I think that graph writers, a lot of graph writers have done that. You know what I'm saying? I hope to one day feel like I've accomplished that. You know, use the newer techniques to still be the graph writer that I want to be.
Yeah, 1,000%. I look at it like kind of the same way. Like brothers was tripping off, even taking graffiti into the galleries at first. Some people was against that. Some people was against putting graph on a T-shirt.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, listen, I come from TDK with it, and you know, we traditionally about fight the power. We are traditionally about like recognizing that people are reappropriating our culture for their advantage. Like we know this, and we've always spoke that. That's what it means. Teach them knowledge. Like that's what we about. But at the same time, like you kind of gotta learn to give a little bit with progression. Right? When things evolve, it's going to change, and you got to either roll with it or unfortunately, you got to bow out. So for me, I'm like, yeah, I know it's some dirty stuff to be going on, with the marketing. I mean, look at the spray paint companies. You know what I'm saying? Look how much influence they have over us and our culture. You know what I'm saying? I'm so we had to learn to work with it, right? And we had to kind of get them to respect a little bit more of the actual history of graph and the writers that really made it what it is. Because they, for a minute, not all, but for a minute, they feared being called vultures. Now I don't think it's that much of an issue for them or anybody to be called a culture vulture. That's going to be like, ain't nobody tripping on it no
Nah, they looking at the bank account and they saying, "Hey, you call me whatever you want." The check clear, so I don't
more. It's
know,
the
man.
truth though, but you got to look at it on both sides. Like I remember when a lot of videos started going to the internet, right? A lot of documentaries started translating into YouTube and into the new platforms, right? So a lot of writers, especially in Philly, was like, yo, I ain't with that. Man, I ain't down with that internet thing, man. That's not real. That's not real writing. But if you look now, 90% of them, and I'm talking about the ones that were saying they wasn't, 90% of them got they accounts up, they profiles, they rocking, they trying to get a little bit of support, they trying to get more involved, they trying to get involved in more events. So it's like it was a little bit of a buck at first. You know what I mean? We bucked the system a little bit. No, we're not going to do it. But once we realized we can use it as a tool, I mean, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore that you can get ahead if you use it as a tool. You know what I'm saying? Just it depends on you as a writer too.
No, you can't. You can't fight change, and if you're not, these things are so part of our society that, hey man, if you're not gonna be part of it, then it's gonna be part of it's gonna move on with or without you. So
Yeah, you're gonna get passed up. You're
yeah,
gonna get passed up. So, you know, um, I feel like I'm very fortunate and lucky. You know what I mean? When I meet younger writers or when they invite me to go do something, I'm 53. You know what I mean? I'm not no spring chicken. So when these 25, 30-year-old dudes like, yo, we have an event, bro. We want you to come through. We want, and they respecting the styles and the art and all that. That's the blessing and graft. That just tells me I did it right. You know what I mean? That I moved correctly as things were changing.
I think so.
I'm hoping. I'm
I would,
hoping.
I would, no, I would agree. I would agree, bro.
I mean,
And
it's beautiful. It's beautiful nowadays what we seeing with the graph and all the events. And like I said, I like new blood. I think what the boy said, graph is for kids is real. You know what I'm saying? So when I see the young Latino kids getting involved and they have a history, you know what I'm saying? They have history down in South America, decades of history, and they're still getting involved. And you're seeing like TDK, we got a Filipino chapter. That's fly. That's so fly. You know what I mean? Like we branching out still. 40 years in the game, we still opening up the chapters. You know what I'm saying? We still welcoming the young dudes and come on, let's go. You know what I mean? Express yourself, get your thought out, show me your style, flex, man, get into it. Like be the artist you want to be. It was a time we couldn't. So I feel like it's a blessing. I
I
do.
love
I
it.
really do.
Yeah, I love it, and I agree. And you mentioned TDK. I know that's your connection to the Bay Area, but I actually want to go all the way back to the beginning because I fuck with Philly, bro. Like
Yeah,
Philly and the
you
Bay
know,
is there's something about it. Like we got our own. It's different, East Coast, West Coast, but I feel like culturally, Philly has always had its own thing, and as a Bay Area cat, I relate to that.
I'm gonna say it like this: they both been wild. That's
That
just
part.
how it is. They both been wild, bro. It's really been wild. All right, so my first crew was ATP, all time pens, all through Philly, always taking paper, another thorough player. There was a group of us, my counterparts, people my age, my man Rasan, Omni, uh, and we had some other people we pulled into, but it was Rasan, Omni, it was a cat M2, um, it was a lot, man. It was Raid, it was by five, a lot of Philly young dudes that was really out there bombing. We're not talking about like honorary members, like, oh, he cool with the crew. No, you had to be out there getting at it. And at that time, in that part of Philadelphia, at that time, these boys was all going crazy from West Philly to North Philly to South Philly, uptown, Northeast. We was getting it all through the city, you know. There was other crews out there getting it as well, but this is where I come from. You know what I'm saying? Like this the ATP thing. So that was my first crew. And I took that to Cali on some flyness. Dream loved ATP because ATP was also a group in Alameda, the Alameda Town Posse. So
Right.
he didn't know what type time I was on. He was like, ATP. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the squad. He's like, but that's the squad here. It was just a point of reference there. We both got a little giggle out of it. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, that's where
Well,
I come from. That's where I come from.
I want to ask you this because most people associate New York City with the beginning of graffiti, but
Mm.
I've heard. Well, I fuck with cornbread, right?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
homie.
bread.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing.
that's the triple OG. That's that's like 1968, if I'm not mistaken.
Man, you go back to Bread and Titty and Bobby Beck and all these dudes. And, you know, I don't like to argue with New York cats about nothing. I just look at it for what it is. Look, y'all say this bull started in 71. All right, well, the newspaper in Philadelphia got my homeboy here 68, 69. Probably rocking in New York, writing on walls. I'm sure there was some boys in the 50s and the 60s in LA writing on walls, but they weren't doing graffiti like we know graffiti to be. The boys we talking about, the dudes I'm talking about, Bread and them, they was doing graffiti. So what we know now. Now, Cornbread wasn't busting styles and all that. Like, a lot of people argue, oh, he wasn't busting styles. I'm like, he was busting rap. He was out here getting it in the streets like everybody knows it to be now. Everybody knows how to get rep now. How you get rep? You got to get out there. You got to show up in all those different spots. For us, I think the only lightning to it is how New York would say going all city. We can relate to that because that's what you're doing. So you got to go to all the different sets, all the different hoods, all four corners of the city. You know what I mean? To make it real. And so Bread and them was doing that back in the day. We followed suit. We evolved styles, but Philly like a man on an island, right? We evolved our styles without anybody else's influence. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's not like we didn't have no rivalry with New York. I love my New York. I got so many homies up in New York. Shout outs to my man Stem. Shout outs to all my boys up there. I got a whole bunch of dudes in New York that I love. But when it comes to history, I won't argue with them about that. It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? Uh, when it comes to anti-graffiti, when it comes to the Vandal Squad, anti-graffiti was first. New York modeled the Vandal Squad off of Baltimore. Baltimore modeled theirs off to Philadelphia. I mean, come on, what are we talking about here? It's semantics, you know what I mean? We made it a problem first. Let's just say that. Cornbread and them made it a problem where the city had to notice it. They was out repping. They was bombing. They was putting their names in all different hoods all throughout the city, right? Everybody wanted to know who Cornbread was. It was in the paper and everything. You know what I'm saying? We made it a problem as far as repping. Everybody was repping. New York made it a global phenomenon, taking it to the trains, bringing all that color in the piecing game. They evolved the piecing game. We were still into bubble letters back then. I know that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't take nothing away from New York. But if the argument's going to constantly be about who came first, you know what I'm saying? I just say, look at the documentation. I'm not really trying to hear it from nobody's mouth no more because every man tell a different story, you know, and there's a little truth and a little lie to all of it. But just look at the documentation. If you go to the Bulletin, which is the city newspaper here, it used to be the Bulletin and the Inquirer. You go to the Bulletin, you will find, you know what I'm saying, articles in 69 and back, 65, I believe. You know, you'll find those articles about graffiti writers in Philadelphia. Now, to my knowledge, I wasn't seeing that in New York. By their own admission, a lot of them was like, oh, Taki even was 71. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not, I ain't shitting on Taki. He a legend, right? Like, why would I'm not into the semantics. Other people are worried about who comes first. I'm more worried about what was the contribution to the graff, to the art form that we have. And I think both cities have contributed. You know what I'm saying? Philly sometimes feel like they don't recognize our contribution. But I know the world does. I see people all over the world that love Philly Handstyles, love Philly history, love the Philly writers. A lot of dudes really give me a lot of love. So I can't, you know what I mean? I can't fall into that argument.
No, I love that because I think here in the Bay, we had the Cholo graffiti, like the gang graffiti, but I think at least San Francisco, we took a lot of our cues from Style Wars and Wild Style and New York graffiti.
Yeah.
But I love that Philly had its own unique thing that was similar, but its own flavor. Yeah. So yeah, I do think it's like, I think graffiti is such an organic thing for a young kid in the inner city to want to do that you can't really you can't put just one origin story on it.
You can't. It's so much that goes into making it. So many people have contributed to it, right?
Following Cornbread and all them, where do you think the Philly graffiti scene evolved after that?
So after Cornbread and all of them in their era, for me, it was more of the black writers and the Handstyles that really pushed the scene. Not just, I mean, there were a lot of white writers, Spanish writers in the city, but the bulk was the black writers with the Handstyles. Uptown writers, West Philly writers, Southwest Philly writers. And these are just black neighborhoods. And like I said, I'm not trying to say nobody had like the other writers didn't have an impact. They definitely had an impact and they definitely were part of the scene. But for a long time, Handstyles reigned supreme. Even now, you know, the overall talk is that this is a Handstyle city. But there was a time, like when I came up in the 90s, Handstyles reigned supreme. And the people that were doing the Handstyles were masters. So there was an era where there was just like all these dudes was hitting the streets, but they Handstyle was impeccable. Their prints was sharp. They fades was perfect. They knew how to whip the can. They knew how to really work the spots. You know what I'm saying? So, and you could tell. You can always tell a seasoned writer versus a new writer in Philadelphia. A new writer gonna go for all the prime time spots, all the showtime spots. A seasoned writer, he gonna get the downloads that's gonna stay. He gonna get the up highs that's gonna stay. He gonna catch that corner spot that nobody was looking at. He gonna get up on the roof and get that one edge. Just tagging. Get that one edge that they like, ooh. So, we still got a few of them. But back in the 90s, it was heavy.
Right. Okay.
Back in the 90s, when I was coming in there, the late 80s and the 90s, it was heavy. It was heavy hitters out here. A lot of them still running, but yeah, they was crazy bombers out here.
I mean, that's what I grew up recognizing Philly for, is the Handstyles, the Wickeds. I mean, it's just a unique style. That's just one style though, right?
Well, it's Wickeds, Saw Prince, Nine Stops. I mean, it's a lot of different variations to it. And according to who you talking to, too. You know what I mean? Because some people look at it differently. Some of the old heads, they kind of redefine certain things, according to how they see it. We all gonna see it a little bit differently, but basically the knowledge is there. So we call it the book. Everybody say, if you get up, you in the book. You know what I mean? Now, I don't mean just get up. If you get up. Then we like, yeah, nigga, you in the book. That means you in for all time. That means your name is always there. That your Handstyles are recognized to be unique and original and yours. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how like we loosely all know the history. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard for me to speak for other writers and who developed what. So if the best I can do is send people to the right people, right? Because I think it's only right. These people are still alive. They can still tell their stories. So if I say, listen, Notorious Big, he was a bad dude. He invented a lot of wicked hand styles. He may not have been the only person who did it, but I have to say he definitely was a pioneer of it. You dig what I'm saying? People like Cadism, who's a legend in Philadelphia. He was known for his bombing prowess, his dope tags, his tall prints, just the way that he attacked the wall and his finesse. He was actually known for being smooth on that wall. People don't know he had wickets. Cad used to do Cadster wickets, roller coaster wickets. I used to see him on the track lines and the tunnels. People didn't understand it. Like, just because you may be known for one thing doesn't mean you don't know the lexicon of Philly, like the styles on how to do it. So back in the day, I think that there was more uniqueness because people emphasized on it more. Nowadays, I feel like people just emulating those styles. So they'll say, oh, I'm doing a diamond style. Or I'm doing this style. I'm doing that style. But you didn't make that style. That was somebody else. You're just emulating that. You should be coming up with something else, you know what I'm saying, to add to it. Because that's how I always felt. That was our job. We were supposed to add to this now. Now that they showed us how to do it, we got to add to it. You know what I'm saying? So when I did my Heart Wickets, I made them, so that they was all connected, one line, and they connected together, but it was constantly that heart popping in each letter. That was just something I wanted to put together my own way to make it look unique. You know what I'm saying? Not that people wouldn't do a wicked and drop a heart in. You see what I'm saying? It was just my contribution to it, how to take it another further step to add to it. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it's always been. I don't know, the Wicked, the Tall Prince, it's so hard to categorize them all. I tell you, he was really good at that. It's a writer named Curve, and he seems like he's been spending decades just studying and interviewing everybody he can, because it really is deep. It's never going to be something you could just say, right? Because there's so much to it. And so when you talk about what's the difference between a Wicked and a tall print is much more legible, but it's built for height, right? They always say we write up and down. Tall print is, come on, we stand it up. You can stand it up 6 feet tall, you can stand it up 10 feet tall, you know what I mean? But it's not going to be as intricate as a Wicked. A Wicked is really a melodical, like, visual dance on the wall. A tall print is basically a giant smack, like let's get it. But we going up, we going down. You know, it's a lot of energy in our tagging. It's a lot of shit going on there.
That's interesting, bro. Cause I think in San Francisco we always looked at Philly as being kind of similar because we have the bus flow, the
That
one
bus
flow.
flow is a nonstop. Yeah, that
Yeah,
bus house flow.
nonstop. Mm-hmm.
I used to be on them buses, and Clara. I used to be on them bad boys with the mean streak. Me and my man Trendy, my man Stare, may he rest in peace. Yo, Echo, my man Surf T, yeah, Surf, Kingpin. I mean, there were so many dudes in the Bay I used to rock with. And we was young, so we was on the bus. We we was on BART, you know. We was running around the Bay. You know what I mean? Tearing it down. I had a great time because I found my tribe. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I want to get to. I definitely want to get to that too. So what part of do you grow up in North Philadelphia?
I grew up uptown, Germantown.
Germantown. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What was?
I wound up being like, you know, in my younger years, I wound up like working down North Philly hustling. That was my grind. That was where I trapped. You know what I'm saying? All my friends, family down there. So I was always going down there. And I wound up staying down there a lot, living down there, you know, having females down there the whole nine. You know what I'm saying? So everybody kind of just knew I was out there all the time. If I was out in Philly, yo, he'd probably be down north. That's where he'd be at. You know, one of them type things. You know what I'm saying? But I grew up in Germantown, which
Okay.
is like uptown.
So that more like a mixed neighborhood.
Black and white, and then the parts of North Philly that I would be down would be black and Puerto Rican,
Okay.
Hispanic. I
Okay.
had a lot of Hispanic friends, you know what I mean? I never looked at no, I guess growing up in a big city, I never really looked at nobody like that. Like we
Yeah.
never really, we just functioned with each other. And if you was into what I was into, nigga, we ride, you know what I mean? So, you know, if I'm on the corner, I'm catching a tag or whatever, and the bull pull up on me, and he like, yo, that's what you write, nigga, I write so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, I seen that. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you one of them bulls. I'm gonna be like, oh, that's my man Sam. Yo, yeah. Me and this dude became good friends. We started going bomb together. He's Spanish bull. You know what I mean? But he's like my brother. He show up at my birthday, show up at my house. Like we just, it don't matter. We're not segregated like that in Philly. It's a weird thing. It's not like when I went to Cali, I did see the separation.
In L.A., right?
In LA, certain parts of Northern California, I saw separation out there with blacks and Hispanics wasn't
Mm.
together, whites, black, you know, people wasn't together like that. You
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
That's what I thought was special about TDK. We was all together. It didn't matter who you was.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter when you were, West was white, me and Stare black, Dream Filipino, Vogue was Chinese. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. It
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
matter. We people where we was all about this graff world.
So growing up in Philly in the '70s and '80s, what was Philly like in those times?
So for me, graffiti is like a rite of passage for a young man in Philadelphia. It was everywhere, and even if you didn't write graffiti, you knew a graffiti writer, right? Every school you went to, there was going to be graffiti writers. You was going to see the graff in the hallways, in the lockers. Every corner you was going to go down north, you was going to see graffiti. You could kind of map out in your mind where people were from, right? But it was adventurous. It was really adventurous because we was venturing into everybody different hoods. We didn't care what it was. It was a drug corner, or if it was they was playing basketball. We didn't care. We was going into that hood, and I don't want to say it was safer, but it seemed safer to me than now. I mean, bad things can happen anyway, but it seemed safer back then. It seemed like even though things was wild, trust me, it was some crazy shit going on the regular. It wasn't like now. Now just seemed like the death be in the air. Back then it was more living, you know what I mean? That's why I think the graffiti was something we could really get into. You know what I'm saying? Because you would never think somebody would shoot you over grab. Now here in Philly now, yeah, they're probably poppy. They catch you right on their shit, they gonna bust you. You know what I mean? Like it's just different. Also, like we used to boost everything. You know, boosting's gotten worse now. You know what I mean? Boosting is a national epidemic now, but for us, it was a national pastime. We was going in to get our cans, we boosting our sneakers. We just go in the supermarket still to get a grub. You know what I mean? Get a grub, steal some wine, some beer, something. Going to the hood, you know, do whatever you're gonna do. And Philly, you know, stealing. We used to boost a lot of polo, boost a lot of gear, stuff like that. I used to stay with that. Eddie Power, all that, all the clothes. We stealing, but it wasn't as bad. I don't know. I don't know why I gotta say it, but it just back then things were happening. They was wild. We was living the life, but it wasn't so dire. Now it's a different world, man. So I think graff could flourish more because I had all my markers. You know what I'm saying? I had all my cans. I had painting clothes. I had anything. I wasn't no rich kid. I had no money to buy that, but I was feeling it, and I was able to live this fun life. You know, because there was so many other people in my world that was doing the same. It was just more like-minded people coming together. Now I don't even see a lot of young writers that are like into that lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's usually older dudes that are still doing that. Young boys, not so much. On the West Coast, I see it a little bit more. You know, rest in peace, my man Wire, man. And
Oh
yo,
man,
I know some wild boys over there, man. That doing
yeah,
some wild things.
yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, it just changed so much. Back then, I ain't gonna lie, I feel like it was a sweetheart time. It was dope. The music was fresh, hip hop was fresh, it was coming out. Every artist was unique and different. I mean, it was it was a great time to be in the hip hop. It was a great time to be a graffiti writer back in the 70s and the 80s and in the 90s. I think that was the dopest time to be a hip hop person and to be a graph writer or a b-boy. I think that was the dopest time.
Actually, I'm glad you said that, and that does sound like hella fun. It sounds a lot like my childhood too. It's just like it's dangerous and crazy, and we out all night breaking the law and getting into fights and doing all types of shit. But it's just like feels like wholesome, just wholesome fun, bro. I don't know how to explain it.
I think I met one of my girlfriends from writing graffiti. Like she knew
Right,
my name. You know what I mean? Back then, and we wasn't on the internet. It wasn't
right,
no. It
right.
wasn't like, oh, we was on the internet and I seen it. Nah, Shorty was like, I be seeing your name. I be seeing your name. You kind of cute. I'm like, okay. You know, I because the graph was like everything to me. You know what I mean? It was my place. I didn't have to even be a rapper or anything. I was a dope graffiti writer in my mind. So I was a part of hip hop.
So that's what I was gonna ask you because I'm curious to get people on the East Coast perspective because we was always taught the four elements of hip hop, right? Rap, DJ, breaking, graffiti. But lately, some people been coming out and saying that that was more marketing and that it was like packaged to sell the movies at the time. What's your take on that?
I totally agree with that. I
Mm,
totally agree with that. One of the things I used to say, listen, I love the fact that they made a place for graffiti writers within hip hop, right? But the truth of the matter, some of the dopest writers I ever met and knew, even back then, didn't give a damn about hip hop. Like Surok was a rocker. Boom, boy was rocking, but he's a dope graffiti writer. He's a dope, and I don't think he cared about hip hop or rap at all. But he was getting up, and that was Espo's old partner. And Espo's a legend from Philly. Surok is a legend from Philly. But them dudes wasn't in the hip hop, and there were lots of writers like that that just weren't in that. I think I met one of the this one dude I met back in the day. He was in the jazz and shit. He's a jazz dude, but he liked to write a little bit. He liked to write. I'm like, damn, I didn't know he didn't like hip hop. He wasn't into hip hop. I was like, damn, that's crazy. And this is during the time for me that hip hop is exploding. So to me, I proved to myself. Nah, everybody wanted. I knew a lot of skaters back then. They was skateboarders and BMX bikers. They didn't care about hip hop, man, but they love graffiti. You see what I'm saying? So like to say that graffiti was just made for hip hop is not really true. You know what I mean? It's not really. It was a lot of people that were participating in making it popular that really didn't have nothing to do with hip hop and weren't thinking about hip hop. So for me, I don't want to say that we're one of their main elements. That kind of pigeonholes us just to rap. That's kind of weird to me. I'm like, no, graff is anybody can do graff, bro. You ain't gotta be into the beat. You ain't gotta be into the, you ain't gotta get on the mic to rock. You ain't gotta do that. It's fun, but I agree with the narrative. That was made for movies. Electric Boogaloo. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like that's what that's made for. That's not really made for us. I'm just like breakdancing was probably something that was more of a competition thing in the hood and fun. And that turned into some like, Electric Boogaloo. Everybody dressed up. We're gonna reenact the old break Jones. We're gonna make it famous. We're gonna make you a star. That really had nothing to do with the dancing to me. And I think when they follow that narrative, that's where we get to a point where now the b-boying is kind of like break dancers are coming back again. They're kind of retaking they turf back. You know what I mean? Maybe it's because they had that Olympic
Yeah.
bullshit.
That was big.
Yeah, and it was like that was bullshit, and people kind of got offended by that.
Right.
So yeah, they like we taking it back, but like I said, man, to say that there are 4 elements to hip hop is really just trying to foster hip hop. Like hip hop is hip hop to me. You say DJ, hip hop. You say MC, hip hop. B-boying, all right. I'm gonna let if the B-boys gonna let you take them, then go with it. You know what I mean? But look at the B-boy contest now. Listen to the music they dancing to. They're not dancing to hip hop too much no more, man. They doing house, they doing all this other stuff. They doing all types of different things. Even sometimes just original music, oldies and stuff, but they're not really doing hip hop like you would think they would if it was an element of hip hop.
Yeah, I even think DJing too. DJing is more like EDM and house music now, and you don't really see people doing scratching and
Shouts to my man DJ Sad One. We got music coming out. Yo, that boy's a bad DJ. He cut, he scratched, he mixed, he still do it. And he comes from Jazzy Jeff Camp, right? So he's been working with Jeff for decades. Like, so he's about that real DJing. That's a DJ to me.
Right.
The other dude, he's a club. That's a club work.
Well, that's the other thing we could talk about with Philly is the music scene too. I mean, going back to like weren't the Spinners from Philly? Or no, excuse me, like Teddy Pendergrass and
yeah, that Philly International.
Yeah.
We talking about that old school? Yeah.
MFSB and all that.
Hey, listen, man, we got a long history of musical talent from Philadelphia. I think people don't recognize it because mostly, and I don't mean to just, it's not like a slight, but most of the entertainers that ever really came out of Philadelphia came out off of somebody's label in New York, or came out with some artist from Florida, or came out with some artist from Cal. Somebody else put them on the map. You come to Philadelphia, you're not really going to hear about the big label here that's putting people on.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. But when you do hear about a big label, you hear about a big producer or somebody recording like a Larry Gold or Rough House back in the day, they was coming in with who? Cypress Hill. They was coming in with artists like what was Criss Cross. They were bringing in other artists from other places and then making them things, but they weren't doing it with Philly artists. So the thing I love about Philly is they're so talented, but it's just not. You won't make it in Philly. You could be the most talented person in the world, but you won't make it just sitting here. There's a lot of people here who are talented and they haven't made it. They've proven the point. Wow. They're not gonna make it. You gotta go out. You know what I'm saying? And get it. You ever hear that chick Jaguar, right?
No.
Okay, she's a singer, but she be on the podcast. She's like the Cat Williams of Philly. She be telling on everybody and she has all these stories about the old Diddy stuff. And I used to hear her tell them stories years ago. I said, damn, was she telling the truth? Another Philly artist that had to go outside of Philly to make it, right? She's working with these bad boy people. She's out here doing these things with these artists from all around the world because that's the national stage is outside of Philly. You know what I'm saying? She's a very talented singer. But like I said, she couldn't have made it here in Philly. She had to come out of Philly. You know, those days of making it Philly, that's Philly International. That's Teddy Pendergrass. Those people you talking about.
Yeah.
That's when the soul was here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when Gamble and Huff were making it, you know, international. But we don't have that anymore. We just got talented people, man. We got mad talented people.
Well,
I don't know. The internet changed.
Some of the most talented. I mean, when people think of Philadelphia, they think of elite lyricists because you got, you know, Freeway, Beanie Siegel,
Black
Meek Mill. I was just gonna say Black Thought, especially.
Black Thought is the dopest MC
Yeah.
in the country at any given moment, at any time of the day. And I'm not even a big fan of him, but it's the truth.
It's facts.
It's
Yeah.
the honest to God truth. Dude is one of the illest lyricists the city has ever produced, and he's been that way since he was young. I can tell you that because I know the man. He's been that way since he was young.
Well, he was a writer too, wasn't he?
I guess. I mean, if you ever grab a can, you know what I mean? I seen Beanie Siegel do a Wicked. You know what I mean? I seen him do it on I don't know if and I know he went out with the Five with Chalkin, and so he knew some writers. He probably got up sometime. He might even came out for a whole summer, but I don't think that was his focus at all.
Okay.
I don't think that was, and I don't think that was Thought's focus either. I think that, you know, they Philly, so by right they can be down with anything they want from this city. And bombing is something they can, like I said, it's a rite of passage. But when you say writer, I feel like, come on now, we don't want to do that. We don't want to say that he was doing something that he really wasn't doing. You know what I mean? Much respect to the man for acknowledging Graff and Philly and participating in them times, but he wasn't focused on that. And that's not a slight. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it. He's the dopest MC in this country at any given time, any moment. Real rap. The man has traveled the world spitting bars. I'm probably more happy that he wrote songs than wrote on bars.
Yeah, I hear you.
He made this. He put us on the map for that, just for being from Philadelphia. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, you rhyme too, right?
Yeah, I do. I definitely get down. I think, like I said, it's not like it's not like I don't think rapping is a rite of passage in Philly. I think that this city's just got a lot of talent, no matter where you take it, right? I think there's a lot of different talented people that come out of Philly, whether they're in film, whether they're playwrights, whether they're actors, whatever. There's so many talented people. But in my generation, MCing was a part of the game, right? It was a big part of the game. When we stand on the corners, we used to rap in ciphers. Just about all the dudes that I used to kick it with, they all put out music. You know what I'm saying? Everybody put out music. But we did it more like thinking we was going to make something out of nothing, right? Not that somebody was going to put us on, because for me, that was the cliche. I would hear people, oh, you're going to put me on. I always thought that was just a kind game. You know what I'm saying? I felt like we had to make it from nothing. And it's just difficult. But nowadays, I've been able to, you know, put out music with Guilty Party, put together projects, you know what I'm saying, and work with producers. I've been working with DJ Sat One. I've been working with my man Shaw, the Analog God out of Paris. I've been working with the Blues Brothers. You know, they're an iconic crew from Philadelphia, legendary underground artists. DJ Sat One produced a couple of my cuts. I got some dudes down in Florida, my man RG Dome, my man Wright. All these dudes have been working with me in the past couple months. I got a couple new projects. This is my last one. This is my joint from Vandal to Van Gogh. It's the EP that I put out. I can't wait for y'all to run up on that. Y'all catch that on Bandcamp or any of that, but definitely I want people to know that I'm still making music, just like I'm still writing graffiti. Like, ain't none of that's gonna stop me. Even though I don't agree with one being, you know, the backup for the other as far as the elements go, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. I love music and I love art. That's where that comes from for me. It's not about the elements. Like, I do all the elements. Nah, right. I don't break dance.
Right,
I don't break dance. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I feel the same way. I mean, that's the thing about graffiti or hip hop is I'll take it in whatever direction I want to take it, and that's the freedom that I get from it.
That's the freedom of being an artist in general.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and I think I learned that from watching artists in both realms. So I know artists that are oil painters, right? And then for a year and a half, my man's just working on sculpture.
Mm.
He's just like, yeah, I'm doing, because that's his prerogative.
Mm-hmm.
He's into creation. Let that man create however he want to create. I feel the same thing with us. If I feel like creating on the mic vocally, if I feel like writing bars and I love this track, and that's my creation. You know what I'm saying? If I want to go to the wall and I feel like doing thoughts or burners, tags or pieces, that's part of my creation. And however I do it is how I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? You're always the captain of that shit. So
1000%, bro. I'm all about that art life, man. Real talk.
I like that art life.
That art life, baby. Well, when you talk about getting in and getting your start and like the rite of passage of graffiti, what made you really turn it into a lifelong passion, and what was the process of you really stamping yourself and writing your own page in that book you were talking about? Like, when did you really say, all right, I'm really finna go for it? Yeah.
It was like a maturity of rebellion. Like first it was rebellion just about being that age and wanting to do whatever I wanted and didn't want nobody to tell me nothing. And I had a group that I rebelled with. We had a motto: don't talk to nobody over 30. You know what I'm saying? Don't trust no grown folks. It's just us. You know what I mean? And then when I got older, it wasn't so much a rebellion against, what other people thought we were doing. It was a rebellion against my own people who were slowly turning against me. Like, when you gonna stop doing that, right? They wanted me to quit, and I was like, "What you want me to quit for?" Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm doing piecing, I'm doing this. I felt like I was grown with it, but they was like, "You get too old, it's time to quit." I said, I don't like that," and that gave me the fire to keep going. Right, as we keep going and keep going, it changes a little bit for me. I started looking at it differently. Like, yeah, I'm not out here trying to keep up with what this dude is doing and what this dude is doing. I'm trying to do my own thing. So I started really falling into my letters and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next with them. And then my other friends would come and be like, "Yo, you gotta do this. You gotta start stepping up with your 3D. You gotta do better, like cleaner. You gotta do this." So then I started having these goals in my head. I gotta be a little bit cleaner. I gotta start looking at my perspective correctly. I started wanting to be more of the artist, right? So that's, that starts to take over. And then from that, I think it was just a reoccurring defiance that whenever I heard somebody tell me, "You too old for this," or "You should be doing this in your life now," it just reinforced me saying, "Nah, fuck you." You know what I mean? You don't get to determine what I do. I get to determine that. You know what I'm saying? And what brings me happiness is not something that's up for debate. It's just not going to ever be like that. So I don't know. I think I just started going inward with it, like really going into myself and being like, "This is what I love to do. I'm not going to let nobody take that from me." And I started to realize they can't. You know what I mean? They literally can't take this from me. And that's where my freedom really starts happening. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to paint much as I want to, whenever I want to. I'm going to do books. I don't care if I'm going to the freight yard. I'm just going to do my graff however I want to do it. No picks. You know what I'm saying? And I think mentally going through that over the years, I just didn't realize time was passing. I just didn't realize how much time was passing. I'm living my life. I got kids. I had to work, all those things. But I just didn't realize time was passing. Before I knew it, 20, 30 years, I've been writing graffiti, right? I'm like, damn. Somebody said, "Why don't you quit?" I said, "Well, that's like asking me to stop breathing at this point. This is just who I am." Like, I do it. I struggle internally. So if I'm doing my job, I'm working, I'm taking care of my kids, I'm chilling with my lady, I'm doing what I gotta do, I start to get unnerved. Like, yo, I gotta go paint. I ain't touched the kid in like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
I love paint, but I don't want to keep it. I love paint, but I want to use it. I don't say you can't. This is what I say. I say, somebody gave it to me.
Okay.
Right? I don't say you can, but I say something that's special.
Yeah.
Right? But if I get paint, I'm using it. I'm using it till there's none. It's always been my issue. I've never had enough paint, bro. I've never had enough paint. I've had a garage full of paint and I went through it. I never had enough paint, man. And I cannot hold it. Like I can't save it. People be squirreling their paint away. They be buying what they need. If you give me 6 cans of a color, I'm gonna go find something to outline that shit with and I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna go use it somewhere. I'm not gonna just let it sit around. I don't want to say it's therapeutical no more because it's not. I'm not doing this as therapy. I'm doing this as an extension of my daily, my day. I'm going out like, yeah, I just want to breathe right now. Let's go do it. And I used to think, and this is what I used to say, man, I can't be no 50-year-old dude writing a sheet. I got to quit before that. I can't be that dude. I'm 53. I painted last week. I'm proving to myself it's for life, man. It's for the whole thing. It's for the whole thing. I did that when I was 40. I'm gonna quit. I can't quit. I didn't quit when I said I was gonna quit. I remember one year I made a New Year's resolution. I'm gonna quit. I think I got drunk the next night and went out bombing because it's just not. It's an unrealistic request in my life for me to stop being who I am. You know what I mean? It's like if you took all the instruments from a musician and told him you can't be a musician anymore, I guarantee he'd be taking this thing as like, I bet he'd be singing. I bet he'd be making something. He gonna make music somehow if that's who he is. You know what I mean? And this is who I am, man. So I have no problems saying I'm gonna do this for life. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm not gonna be malicious about it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have to go out and tear nothing down. That's really not my goal no more. But I'm always going to paint. I'm always going to paint. And I've seen enough examples to know that I'll be able to do that. When I look at Scheme or Scene or any of these dope writers that I looked up to, you know what I'm saying? If Dream was alive today, right now, I guarantee you he'd be cooking niggas. He'd be cooking these niggas on the walls. His outlines from 25 years ago is cooking niggas today.
Facts.
Dream, if he was here right now, I only hope that we still be tight. You know what I mean? Because that nigga was bad all the way around, bro. That was a bad man. You know what I mean? And I believe he would have done it for life. I believe that. I believe that this would have been his life consumption. I mean, he did it for life. You know what I'm saying? But if he was still with us now, I don't think he would have folded on it. I think he'd be enjoying it like, yeah, yes, sir. And he'd be at the biggest and the best. Because he just had that foresight.
Facts.
Yeah, he saw the shit.
Well, that's a good transition then, because I was wondering, like, what is your connection to the Bay Area and how did you get down with TDK?
All right, so basically my connection to the Bay is family, right? My uncles and my father all lived in California. My uncle, he was a screenplay writer and an author, and he wound up being a professor at UC Berkeley. And so, you know, he found a little something out there, a little good life for himself. Because my family comes from North Carolina, sharecroppers. So he found a good life out there. You know, he's college educated. So his brothers, my father, and his brothers all went out to California to get the, you know, the golden sunshine. You know, they like, oh, we're gonna live good with our big bro. You know what I mean? And they all set up camp out there. And my pop moved to Oakland. So, as I said, when I was in Philly as a teenager, I was getting in a lot of crime. I was getting locked up a lot. And so one of my cases, the judge was like, yeah, we're going to send you to go live with your father. Like, they gave me a choice, right? Go to this group home joint or go live with my father, right? So my mom was like really trying to like get me to go there. She felt like it might change my life, but she didn't really know where she was sending me to. You know what I'm saying? So they sent me out here like 13, and I'm up like 98 from Bancroft, around the block of Sunnyside Avenue. Man, this John Hood, this your heart is stone around this joint. I'm like, yo, these is crazy, man. Like, They shooting, they selling drugs, just going crazy. So, you know, I kind of knew what was going on. You know what I mean? Once I kind of got established here. And, you know, like anybody else, I started making friends, you know what I'm saying? And trying to connect with different dudes, you know, and learn about where I was at. I was there at such a young age. I had been there before, like when I was 11, something like that, but I was too young to really be out there. You know what I mean? I was like right up under my pop at the time. So he wouldn't let me run the streets and nothing like that. When I get to be 13, I'm out playing ball. I'm running around. And I found that yard, 23rd yard. And I was like, whoa, I gotta go in there. I gotta go in there. And I think I peeped it, and then I left, went back to Philadelphia, and then I got in trouble again, and they sent me back. And this time I had to stay. So I was getting in high school. I went to Castlemont High School, and I go down to that yard, and I made my dad. He driving down East 14th. I made stop, and I jumped out the car. Where you going, nigga? Man, I'll call you. I'm going over here to this yard. He don't know what the fuck I'm doing. He like, this nigga crazy. So I go over the yard, and I think I seen Stare first, right? Because I'm just hanging out there, just looking at all the stuff on the walls, hoping I'm gonna meet somebody down here. But if not, I'm gonna get me some cans. I'm gonna do something down here. This is where all the big boys is at. and I met West, and I met Stare down there, and they put me on to the beat where I could steal paint. We stealing dollar cans, and then I started tagging all around there, and I was a side buster. I was tagging on the sides up by the top of people's pieces because I could reach up higher. I was doing my Philly stuff, and they knew something was different. They was like, "Who the fuck is this?" Because they didn't recognize the style, right? And then I was like, "Come on, we're gonna write in the streets though. This yard is cool, but I want to get some rep." So I remember the first time I came down East 14th, I had a fat cap, and I was with. I think I was with this kid Echo, Pete Echo, and he used to write with Surf and Hizzo. Yeah, these dudes was all wild, man. There was writers in Oakland, man. I don't even know how it is now, but there was writers in Oakland, bro. And we would go writing, and we went down East 14th, and I had a fat cap. But niggas didn't tag with fat caps back then. They would tag with the phantom cap, the little thin one, and they would go from left to right. But no, I'm going up and down. So I'm hitting the sides of these joints. I'm writing ATP, NM, ATP. I'm throwing up my homies, Rasan, ATP. I'm throwing up my Philly homies. They like, yo, you taking up the whole wall. And I was like, oh, that's new to y'all, huh? I'm like, you gotta write like this too, bro. You gotta spread it out a little something, man. You get some rep out here. Next thing I know, we down at the yard. I think Wes was like, that dream right there. He knew Mike. He like, that dream right there. You know, I went over to him. I was like, yo, what's up? He recognized who my tag thing. He's like, oh, okay, so and so. And then like, I just started hanging around, trying to be in the circle. As a kid, I wanted to be around them dudes. So I would be on them tracks. I'll hang down on them tracks, 23rd, maybe 4 or 5 hours in a day, man. Writing on the rails and just walking up and down the tracks, writing on stuff, going into the street, stealing, coming back. You know what I mean? We just was out there, and that's where I would meet Trendy, and I would meet Reefer, and my man Chaos, Razor. That I'm getting ready to see him, so I can't wait to see him. I would just get to start knowing everybody in the Bay Area on my side. You see what I'm saying? So then we would go to San Fran, and we would go to Union City when they had a meeting, or we go to Cycle City, you know what I'm saying, to see all the pieces, see when Dream would do a new piece. And after a while, Dream and them was like, I remember Dream said to me, man, we might have something with you, because you different. You could be our secret weapon in the crew. And I was like, oh yeah. And he's like, yeah, you just gotta work on your piece, and you gotta work on your stuff, because I wasn't that good. And I probably would have never even really tried the piece if it wasn't for a Dream. Like I could do a straight letter, but I wouldn't have tried to be a piecer. I wouldn't even went that far if it wasn't for Dream, because he like I looked up to that man. Like I really looked up to him. I ain't going fraud. Like I definitely looked up to him. So when he said to me, "Yo, you got your own style. You just keep doing that, bro. You know, keep doing that, and you're gonna be good." And I believed it. I was like, okay, if you say it, it's real. So I just continued to do that. I remember me and West did audition pieces to be in TDK. And we had dollar cans, and I did this big giant image on. It was a piece, but it was a monster, man. It was not up to par, but I didn't care. I wanted so badly to be it. And Dream let us in. Me, Stare, and West. You know what I'm saying? And we carried that shit like a badge, like a damn badge. To this day, I carry it like a badge because the homie put me on, and I was never gonna let him down. You know what I'm saying? So, because I can't really just say the story without telling you why it was like that. It got to a point where I had to bend the home life. You know what I mean? Families on drugs and stuff. You know what I mean? So Dream would come check me out and be like, "Yo, come stay at my house." And I would sleep on the floor in his room. You know what I'm saying? And like he looked out for me. You know what I'm saying? Like he became the real mentor. You know, people talk about it, they say they'll be it, but this man really was. You know what I'm saying? And he would do that for us. And Dream wasn't that much older than us. But it was like we was talking to a 40-year-old. Like he just knew. The man was just, he was a special human being, bro. And he did so much for me at that time of my life that I think I associated graff finally with something good.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like something real with TDK and with Dream. Like, it made me feel like him, that he accepted me as a person, not just my graff. Like he knew my story. He knew what I was going through. You know what I'm saying? And he still was like, "That's a good dude." He got me a job at Eastmont Mall, airbrushing with him at Costa, California. I met Digital Underground in there. I met Tupac in there with Dream. You know what I mean? Pooh Man. You know what I'm saying? Even I think some of the big drug dealers just don't do that. He introduced me to some of them too. You know what I mean? Like he was more than just like a mentor. He was literally the big bro.
Wow.
Literally the big bro. Literally. And I can tell you for a fact that he did this for other people. He did this for other people. He did this for Taste. He did it for Stare. He looked out for us. You know what I mean? Like a person. Because he just had a better grip on it. He had a better grip on the game, baby. He was smooth too, so he was finessing his way through it. He was killing it, man. The dude is just always going to be my number one. You know what I mean? That's the number one.
Wow. Yeah, that gave me chills, bro, because I've definitely heard that, like the mentorship that he gave other people, but I think also what you just said about having a positive association with graffiti, I relate to that, bro, because there were so many times where I was out all night bombing because shit wasn't okay in my life. You feel me? And I'm seeing and I'm exposed to all types of crazy shit that a teenager probably shouldn't be exposed to. And also so many writers are coming from that same context. So you got a lot of egos. You got a lot of fucked up mentalities. You got a lot of dudes that's into drugs and violence or whatever. And a lot of motherfuckers that's just straight haters. And will hate on you because you're not as good as them or as good as they think you should be. But I learned that there's another type of writer that's so confident in their own skills and loves the culture, not just the vandalism, because we love that too, but it's the culture. When you get in touch with that side, that's when you can just paint a piece and have that freedom, and you learn, man, I can make other people feel good instead of shitting on them.
What he's giving me was a blessing, man. I can't tell you how many times I had younger people hit me up and tell me, "Oh, I was inspired by what you said. I'm inspired by what you do," or whatever. And I feel like that's a blessing because we just put the energy out there. I don't direct it towards anybody.
Yeah.
Just put it out there. You know what I'm saying? So when it's received, that's really your gift. That's your payment in full. Like, my man, I'm gonna quote you. You got to give what's been so freely given to you. Dream.
Wow.
That's that's what the man told me. You got to give what's so freely given to you. I have to tell you, like, when it comes to like graffiti, um, and graffiti culture, most people don't have experiences where with older writers that are like positive.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, they just don't. You know what I mean? And Dream was the type of dude that he wasn't no sucker. You know what I mean? And he wasn't a rich man. Like, he gave accordingly. He did accordingly. You know what I'm saying? But he was still the kind of person you could look up to in grad and be like, that's like, not even, it's not even a position, but you saying to yourself, I want to be like that. You know what I'm saying? In every way, man, my man's skill is unbelievable. And look how he uses it. It's like watching a superhero use his power for good. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, a supervillain use his power for good. Like, that's what he's doing. He's killing it, man. He was just so good at that. I do see people like that out here. I've met a lot of writers that I can tell was always, on a positive for their own lives. They was coming from nothing, trying to make something. And so they want to share that with everybody and help those who are coming from nothing get somewhere. You know what I mean? There's a lot of writers out there that are still doing that. You know what I'm saying? But with the internet now and with the way that the companies are and how they court us and are trying to like uh, milk this market, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? We're not seeing a lot of people who have the opportunity to interact like that. We're not seeing writers that, can come out and really interact in that way on a grand scale as like an influencer or something like that. It's still a very much like go for self kind of sport. Definitely an ego sport, you know what I'm saying? But you know, like I said, I think that to go back to the other question, that's what I think the difference is between now and then. You know what I mean? It was always the ego sport, but back then it seemed like we had more of a community. Now I feel like it's really just the ego sport and it's heading towards the corporate cutoff. Like, you're either down with this club or you're not down with this club. You work with this company, you don't work with that company. You can't work with this company if you're working with that company. Like, it's really weird. You know what I'm saying? When you don't see that in any other type of art or entertainment.
I agree. Well, I mean, that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation, bro, because I'm hoping that there's going to be some people out there that are going to get the right kind of inspiration to learn that, hey, man, you don't got to go the dirtbag route. You don't have to. If that's you, then hey, salute, man. You know what I mean? Salute to the
Hey, hold
dirtbags.
up,
But
hold up. Shout out to my dirtbags, my dirty rotten vandals. Y'all can change still. It ain't over. It ain't over. Y'all can still come on back and keep it correct. Trust me, I did it. Lots of other ones will do it. It's not about being a good person, it's about wanting better for yourself and adding to the art, you know what I'm saying? And I think if you start focusing on those things, you just become a better person. Then when you focus on things that have more substance, you know what I'm saying? Because anybody can go out X a nigga right now. Anybody can start a fake beef on the internet. Anybody can do any of that stuff. You know what I mean? But it gets forgotten. It doesn't do anything. It's not something we add to it. I mean, put it this way. If you were to ask for the top 5 moments in graffiti history, how many people you think would go for the spit, for the, I'm sorry, spit, for Cap? Cap and scene. Like, that's not a verse I care about or a diss that I care about. It happened. You know what I'm saying? But that's not a big thing to me. When I see Cap doing the throw up. He's an older man now. I'm just tripping on a thing. He had a dope throw up back in the day. That's it. I don't care about his beat. I don't care about any of that. And I don't think most people do. I don't think that's something that really resonates in graph. You know what I'm saying? We've seen it before with big names. People call each other snitches, all this stuff. It doesn't change much.
no.
It don't really change nothing.
I mean, on that note, too, what I've found, especially doing this podcast and talking to so many people, is on a similar note, bro, it's not even that hard to go all city. It's not that hard to technically paint a pretty piece So I found that the people who really make an impact on this game are the ones who gave back to the culture and just made an imprint into who they are as a person, as opposed to just, yeah, I got up in the summer of 2001 or whatever. You know what I mean?
It is what it is. You know what I mean? And if we're gonna get technical, it's hard to contribute something to graph that changes the actual minimal graph or even style wise. I
Yeah.
mean, I see a lot of people that are dope, but adding something to style, it's almost like you can't change style, but you can push the direction.
Yeah.
You can push the direction. Sometimes people do things that you've never seen before, and it's going to take a while for people to call that a style. It's going to
Yeah.
take a while for people to look at that and say, okay, that's something people can do. Until then, it's just something very unique. Style is, I think, it's such a personal thing. You know what I mean? As far as the graph writer goes, I just wish that we could express that in a healthier way, and people could really get back to what made graph so much fun, and that's really the lettering. For me, the lettering and the reinterpretation of stuff. I not against any of the photorealism stuff. A lot of my boys do it. I really like it, but I like it more when they bring the graph out of it. When it's complimenting graph. I'm a graph dude. I
Mm-hmm.
love letters, reconstruction of letters. I like to make them letters do crazy things. That's not going to resonate with everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but a portrait of Mother Teresa will.
Right.
So, I'm not gonna hate on that. I'm just gonna say, can I put a can in Mother Teresa home and got my name in the back?
That would be fire.
Can I throw my name in the back? You know what I mean? And just put the can in the hand and we rock with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, graph should be fun for those who are doing it, and I think if you get back into the letters and get back into and having fun with that, I think those are the graph writers that are going to push style. Those are the graph writers that are going to change a little bit.
So at what point, I didn't know that you spent so many of your teenage years in Oakland.
Oh yeah, back and forth,
So you're back and forth your whole life.
back and forth, man. Like,
Oh.
yeah, like just like sometimes it's summer, sometimes school years, right? Depending on what I did, how much trouble I got in. I mean, by the time at one point I left Philly to go to to Cali because they was looking for me, so I wanted, and so I stayed for years.
Mm.
And then when I came home, it was just like one of these epiphanies, like, yo, I gotta go face the music. I gotta go home. I gotta deal with this. I gotta get a lawyer. I just gotta deal with this shit. I really don't want to have this on my neck the whole time. Every time I get stopped, every time I see somebody, I'm worried whether or not they're gonna click a warrant on me. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna have to sit somewhere and wait for somebody to say where they're gonna bring me all the way back. So I just went back and took care of it. And that was actually the smartest thing I could have done. Because I wound up putting that thing behind me afterwards. So once I did that, I stayed home for a little bit. You know what I mean? That's when I had my first child. And so, I was here for a minute. But after, some years, I missed it so much. I wanted to go back just to visit, right? So I went back to visit one time and I told her, oh, I'll be back. I painted. I said, I'll be back. I'll be back. And he didn't believe me. And I came back. I came back. I stayed for a couple more years. I was chilling. Was blessed by my TDK family. They looked out for me. They were there for me. Everything I needed. Rest in peace to my brother Mertz. You know what I'm saying? He did a lot for me when I came back. Made sure that I was straight. My man Chase looked out for me. Made sure that I was straight. And I got to spend time with Stair before he passed. Which was super important to me because I'd already known that he was going through his sickness. So, that was a lot of motivation in coming back. But being able to stay and spend time with him, that was my bro, man. Like, that was my bro, man. That man, me and that man was in the trenches together. We was doing double ups out in the street. Me and this man we was selling Hubba rocks to niggas. Like, we was really out there. That nigga, I had to rumble that man uncle one time.
Mm.
You know what I mean? This man owed me money. And he was like, handle your business.
Oh no.
My bro was like, handle your business. The rumbling, I got to see him on that, and but that's how tight we was. That's how tight we was. You know what I'm saying? So when I knew he was going through it, I wanted to be there, which was, a blessing. You know what I'm saying? So I came back and I stayed for so many more years, and then I had to come back home. Family members, my kids and my a family member of mine was passing. I'd already lost another family member, so I wanted to get home. You know what I'm saying? Back to Philly. But yeah, it's been a lifelong thing. You gotta understand, this is over 50 years. I
Yeah,
mean, going
yeah.
back and forth and back and forth.
When you're getting into trouble, did you get in trouble for graffiti shit too? Like, where in either Philly or Oakland, was there heat on your name for graff?
I had heat in Philly for graff.
Mm-hmm.
I had heat in Philly for graff. Was calling me, they were trying to get at me, but I had a bull that was he was doing a community service in the anti-graffiti building. And I ain't even gonna say his name. I love that fool. But he stole my file. He stole my file.
Wow.
That's when niggas used to have paper files. He
Yeah.
stole my file.
All the photos in there and everything.
He gave me my shit. He's like, yeah, you good? I love you, bro. And got them
Wow.
niggas off my top.
Wow. They had your name and every government name
Yeah,
and all the
they had all.
evidence and
Well, they didn't have everything they needed. They was trying to get me. They kept. It was weird. The bull was trying to get me to come down to Anti-Graffiti to talk to him, or they was gonna press charges. And I was like, I don't know. I told him I had a twin brother, and I didn't know what they was talking about. And I hung up on him. You know what I mean? Like I was just giving them smoke. Like I ain't trying to talk to y'all because I ain't even want my people. I ain't want my minor to know. You know what I mean? They was calling me at my house on my phone. I was like, no, sir. I have my own landline. I don't know how they got my number. But anyway, um, after after that, that wasn't really my problem. I went to Cali because I paralyzed the dude.
mm,
I whooped this bull down bad, and I kicked him in his dome when he was on the ground, and he caught a blood clot and was paralyzed on the left side of his body. He woke up, pissed on himself, went out. So the cops immediately came at me like, "Oh, that's attempted homicide. He
yeah.
tried to kill the man. This, that, and the other." Well, my family, they just we a black family, man. They like, look, you can't make it out in the valley, head to the hills. And I had a plane ticket at the airport, and I got off and was on Heckenberger Road, bruh,
Yeah.
on my way down to 73rd and Arthur.
Man,
That's
yeah.
where I wound
I
up. I
don't
wound
blame
up in
you.
East Oakland.
That's a pretty good place to go on the run. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, look, that was the science behind it. And everybody around here wanted for something. You
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
You good. They want
yeah,
everybody for something.
yeah.
So you
Also,
good.
OPD don't got time to be chasing down out of state warrants for some other police
They
department.
ain't had time to stop
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah. Hey, that's
OPD ain't
crazy.
never did.
That that's why, man. To this day, though, I'd be like real careful about street fights because a lot when you're young, you don't realize, bro. This a street fight actually could be a life or death situation.
I tell my son that. I
Yeah,
tell my son that because he'll never believe me, but that is the fact of the matter. I didn't know that was going to happen to homeboy.
yeah,
And then that really caused me some real complications in my life. I mean, mentally too.
yeah.
Mentally,
You
like
felt
really
like
taxed.
guilty about it.
More guilt than you could possibly know. Like
Yeah.
I don't think people don't think that stuff really affects you. But look, I don't. Hand to God, I had a dream. This man, mom came to me like, you paralyzed my son. Like that's deep. And you wake up and you like, whoa! I just had a dream. This boy, mom came to me. Come on, man. I knew I was. You know what I mean? I was like, 'cause I didn't know the outcome. I only know what I did. You know what I mean? I only know what people were saying to me. Meanwhile, back at home, they was Xing my t-shirts out, talking about, I ain't gonna say the boy's name, but they say so-and-so gonna live and them gonna burn in hell. That's what they wrote on my piece. I said, oh,
Mm.
damn, it's public outcry. It's public outcry. They ain't really feeling me. I,
Yeah,
I, done, I done messed up.
that was an unpopular decision.
Yeah, that was a bad decision I made. That.
Nah, that's real grown man talk right there though, because people be like really on that tough guy shit, and I be like, man, I don't play that, bro, because I be talking people out of fighting, like, bro, let's not do that, bro, because don't put me in a situation where, you know what I'm saying, one punch lands the wrong way, or you fuck around, get pushed into the street, get hit by a car, or let's even say like the shit escalates so bad, somebody gets whipped so bad and then comes back with a pistol, and then it's just, you just never know. So I don't do
In the
that tough
moment
guy
of
shit.
anger, in the moment of anger, you can make mistakes you're not even aware of. I made a mistake. I stomped this bull.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've been in fights with other cats and people. I've been stomped before. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like I just didn't think it was going to be an issue. I just felt like I'm winning. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I won this. So that was me kicking him. That was just a humiliation move. Like, yeah, you down, and I'm gonna make sure you stay down. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I never regretted a action more than that in my life.
Mm.
That one moment right there was that was and trust me, I already had a nice little record jumping off. So the last judge I seen, I think he told me, yeah, next time I see you, I'm gonna give you 3 from the door. I'm giving you 3 from the door. All I gotta do is see you in this courtroom. Because I had robberies, I had thefts, you know what I'm saying? I had some drug shit. I was out of control as a young man. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't no gangster. I was just out of control. You dig what I'm saying? So I'd already kind of set myself up to go to prison. And so at that moment, that's what I thought was going to happen. I was like, well, that's it. Now I'm going to go to prison. There's nothing I can do. I
Right.
messed up. But, you know, my family is also, no, son, go to the airport. Make sure you do. And can you believe that back then, you didn't need much for the airport?
Nah.
You didn't need, they had the ticket waiting for me. They said, oh, you're a juvenile. You're flying by yourself. Yeah, yes, sir. I wasn't 18 yet. That's yes, sir. Jump, went straight to Oakland International, bruh.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, I was
it was wild.
I was curious too, the Philly Vandal Squad, are they? Because I know, like we said, Oakland, they ain't got time for nothing out there.
Yeah, we don't have no vandal squad. We got anti-graffiti. Anti-graffiti is, or anti-graffiti was, an organization that worked within the courts. So when you got busted for vandalism, they would step in the court and they would say, "We want to give this kid community service. We want to have him painting walls in the community and cleaning up, and he's going to work off his whatever hours for community service through us." You know what I'm saying? And then they would do other things where they would try, you know, entice the guy to tell them who the other graffiti writers were, where they lived, and all this stuff. And in some cases, the police would come and raid you. Like MV got raided. Lots of people got raided. Excuse me, for graffiti, like real shit. They would often go to like high schools and round up the writers they could find there. That type of time. It wasn't really a major thing. Because one of the most influential people in anti-graffiti was a guy named Johnsky, an old writer named JS.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an old school writer. I mean, old as cornbread, brother. He's one of the older ones. And it's not a secret that Johnsky didn't go after his own people.
Okay. Wow.
If you was cool, he wasn't gonna come get you.
Wow.
Hey, he could have came got me. He knew me. I knew him. He never came after me after, you know, I kind of was established. He would just go after the young kids that were trying to get up but didn't know what they was doing, was in their high school messing up the hallways. Little shit. He really wasn't going after the big writers. In a way, he kind of protected us, but it was also a paycheck for him, right? He was riding around buffing everything. And he was getting a little something. Yeah, he's riding around buffing everything, getting a little something.
That's
So
crazy.
our anti-graffiti, I think, was totally different. Now, when we talk about the graffiti detectives, now that's different. Baines
Yeah.
and Tamara, yeah, they come through and threaten to take your kids from you. They was on some wild shit. You know what I mean? Like, Baines and Tamara used to regularly harass my boy Sam, may he rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? They used to harass him. They would pull up on everybody. Who's that? Who that in the car? Who that? I know who that is. That's so and so. Like they was asshole cops. You know what I'm saying? But they were cops. They weren't like I don't know how Vandal Squad really works. I really don't know how they work in New York. I heard, you know, they a unit and they roll out like cops. So that's kind of like how ours was. But you know, after a while, that all ceased to exist, and they started doing like two or a detective in every precinct. See, Philly got precincts. Every neighborhood got different precincts, you know. So they have like one detective is detective to cover any vandalism, not just graffiti. It could be vandalism, breaking windows. It could be slashing tires. It doesn't really matter. They cover all of that. You dig what I'm saying? So a lot of times they don't even care about graffiti.
Yeah.
That's like last on their list.
Yeah,
They could
yeah.
care less.
Wow, interesting, man. Every city has a different, but it's like little similarities because I feel like graffiti cops, like you said, detectives are some of the craziest motherfuckers you'll ever meet, bro.
Yo, that boy Johnsky showed up in my court case. When I was a young boy, he showed up in my court case, walked over to me, said, "Yo, why don't you let me get your autograph?" I was like, "Yo, you think I'm stupid? I mean, you crazy shit, nigga. I'm not trying to do nothing. Yeah, it was that. It was crazy.
Oh
It was
my god.
crazy. Yes. I almost got thrown out of that court. Cause the judge said, "Did you talk to the representative from the anti-graffiti?" I said, "Yeah, I talked to that snitch ass motherfucker." And he said, "You curse in my court, I'll throw you out and put a fence warrant on you." And I was like, I'm sorry, Your Honor. You know what I mean? But I was upset. I was like, I can't believe he's here. Why is he here? Oh, this nigga snitching. This nigga gonna tell on me. How is he here? You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't believe it. I say, that's Johnsky. Why is he here at my case? Like,
Wow. That's
I ain't
crazy.
gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's comical though now that I think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I feel
Like
like
I said, man,
there needs to be a movie about graffiti cops one day, man.
I swear, man, because I don't want no graffiti cops coming in after me. I'm sure y'all high checking about y'all business nowadays. But back in the day, y'all some clowns. Y'all was a bunch of fucking clowns, like Keystone Cops, man. Y'all running into each other over dumb shit, man. And y'all never really got nobody. So it was like, what is you doing? You know, at least with New York, you know that they actually get some of the big heads when they go after them. I've heard they knock some big writers down, you know what I'm saying? But in Philly, I can't tell you any of the legends that have been stopped by anti.
Yeah, yeah.
Or none of the dudes that really got it. And this city, it's a tough city to be in because it's a lot of dudes that can claim to be a king.
Man.
So it's tough, you know what I'm saying? Like, but none of them dudes ever been stopped. They'll come out right now if they want to. Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
free air with it.
How did being in the documentary Infamy, how did that come about?
So, all right. So the creator, Roger Gassman. So I know him, and I knew him, but I knew him as Clear, as a writer, and he's from like Bethesda, Maryland, back in the day. He had a magazine. While You Were Sleeping was his magazine, and he also did other publications. So I knew he was into
Like
that.
Beyond the Streets, right?
Yeah, so this is way before Beyond the Streets. That's the same man though. And they would when they were doing that documentary Infamy, they were looking for archetypes of graffiti writers, right? So they wanted like different types of graffiti writers from different cities. And I don't know if they had the idea to tie it all in together, or if they were just kind of like, we're gonna film these particular artists because they're all different and unique. And I think he wanted me from Philly because I wasn't just a bomber, I also pieced, and I pieced illegally, right? So when I first started piecing, it wasn't no permission for nothing. We were just going at it on the corner, in the street, like fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Late night, broad day, whatever the fuck we was gonna try and do it. We was gonna try and do it, and we was gonna keep rocking like that because we was illegal about everything. And I know that he experienced that coming up to Philadelphia as he was being a writer. So he reached out to a good friend of mine who was in my toolkit. Yes, my man Sense, MSP. Yeah, I believe MSP. Sense, and Sense is from Maryland. And he connected him with me because he was like, yo, Roger wants to talk to you about something. So, I talked to him. He was like, listen, how would you feel about participating in this documentary that we're going to be doing? He's real cordial about it. Very, straight up. I said, yo, it's cool. I'm running an art gallery at the time. At the time, I was running an art gallery. And I was like, it's cool. Any publicity I can get for my gallery, I'm good. You know what I mean? Because that's what I was thinking. I had no idea what this actual documentary was about. You know what I'm saying? I just knew It's money making rides. Money making rides got something going on. It's probably going to be good. You know what I mean? So they brought down a crew. They shadowed me for a couple of days. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it was interesting, but it was fun. I had no idea what it was going to lead to at all, as far as being that kind of documentary. But when I did start to see it, when they sent me like edited versions to look at before they went to, you know, put this all together, I was very much honored to see some of the artists that were involved in it. You know what I mean? And then I kind of started to understand what he was doing. You got these different artists, but they all have a, a theme that runs through all of them, right? As graffiti writers, as artists, we all have certain things that we all connect in. So if you look at family life, or if you look at the street life, or if you look at your professional work life, or if you look at the love life, you know, however they were looking at it, we all had something to say about that particular subject. The only thing I didn't like about it was I think they gave Boy Joe Connolly a little bit too much time to express basically nonsense. You know what I mean? We know that that man wasn't serious about anything that he was saying. He's a political guy who's trying to, you know, get in the game of politics. I don't think it had anything to do with the community or his hatred of graffiti or any of that. You know, he's just a Hollywood dude doing Hollywood shit as far as I'm concerned. But I think the other artists were all valid. Every one of them, you know what I'm saying, was valid, especially when you heard their truths, right? So Saber, I didn't know Saber was, you know, as collected, and his thoughts were like, you know, you could tell he thinks before he speaks on his thoughts. He's very reserved in that. And what I saw in the movie, that was cool. I got a total idea how this dude was, and I knew he's a famous artist. You know what I'm saying? I love this stuff. Sumer, just entertaining and dope, like just what a writer should be, just like in the prime of writing. Like when you're in your prime of writing, and you just don't give a flying fuck. That's Sumer, right? All day. Like he just embodied that. You know what I'm saying? Same with Ear Snot, but Ear Snot was like, no matter what nobody tell me, I'm saying like he's fighting up, right? Because he knows what the labels are gonna be before they even come, right? So as they say, oh, he's the gay writer. He, you know, he crashed all that shit. He smashed all that shit from the door. He let everybody know, not even for the dumb shit. If you got an issue, we can take care of it. Yo, I ain't gonna lie to you. At the Tribeca opening for Infamy, Ear Snot stood up. There was a Q&A. And I think Doug Price said, does anybody want to ask any of the artists any questions? They're all here tonight. And Ear Snot stood up and said, first off, I got a question. Anybody you want to fight? Anybody got a problem? Because I'm here right now, just to let you know that he wasn't an act. What he was doing in that movie was real life. I really respected him for that, man, because grad writers are very strange creatures. They could be very misogynistic. They could be very hateful, man. Trust me, I've been around a lot of them. You know what I mean? They toss certain words around like it ain't nothing. He made a lot of writers respect him. He made a lot of writers respect him. Like, you're not going to disrespect me. And I really like that. And and like he said, it was all about his craft. That was his thing. You know, that is his thing. I think he's still getting up doing his stuff. But that's his thing, man. You can't, you know, he said, you're not going to cut me out of art. I am the art. And, you know, we all recognize that. You look at Claw, all of a sudden, you know, the same thing. Like I said, graph writers are misogynistic. So it's a female writer. They're going to say all these crazy things. And she kind of let them know, no, I'm harder than Large Marge. I'm all in charge. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got my own business. I got my own fashion thing. I'm doing this. You know what I mean? And she was in the street vicious. And her crew is out there working. Like, the movie for me really worked because everything was authentic. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like I was just another writer in there. Just another writer, which felt good. You know, you don't want to be like the odd man out, and you don't want to be the star either. You just want to be a part of the group, you know what I'm saying? Because everyone's so unique. And I really enjoyed it. And honestly, for me, it's a blessing. I had to think thousands and thousands of people who never ever would have known who I was. You know, got to see that movie and are interested. Some follow me from it, you know what I mean? Some have followed me for years because of that, decades. You know what I mean? Because they heard about it or they saw it, and then they saw what I was doing in life. Because I've never stopped writing. So they seen me keep going and mature and evolve and continue. So it's been a good ride, hopefully, for those people who have been following that. But yeah, that shit changed my life. I don't think it's the only thing that changed my life, but it was definitely a dope thing that changed my life, man. It was fly.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about like Star Wars or some of the other documentaries. I think that might be the best one because it's the most personal, to where you get to really know what goes into your mind. And like you said, it's the common thread for graffiti writers, that you got people from the East Coast or West Coast, man, woman, black, white, Mexican. Um,
I gotta say, and I gotta say, Star Wars is the holy grail. I just can't. I mean, I would love to think, and I can't speak for Roger Gassman or Doug Frey, for them. That's the producer and director. You know, I can't
mhm.
speak for them, but as somebody who was involved in it, I'm not downing it by saying it's the best #2 graph film in the world. Um, I think that the reason why is because Doug Frey is a real director.
Yeah,
This wasn't a bargain basement deal. This guy really does films. So they put together a great film. And Roger Gassman is plugged into the graph world and always has been. So with those two things coming together, they were uniquely able to make a dope product. And I think that's why it stands up, because the only other dope product that we know of is Star Wars, right? That was really the dope product. It was big, it was larger than life. Same thing with Infamy. Now, I'm not saying they're the only two, but for me, from my generation to Star Wars, I hadn't seen anything like Infamy until that came up. And I made documents. I had a documentary called Street Soldiers. You know what I'm saying? Like Philly had documentaries from On the Go had Repeat Offender and a couple other documentaries they put up. We've had documentaries before, but they were done by graffiti writers and not cinematic producers and
yeah. A
videographers.
lot
You
of
know what I'm
graffiti
saying?
documentaries that I see are kind of like skate videos, where
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
footage of people hitting up and then they say a little quick bio or whatever.
Well, I mean, I see a lot of the when we're talking about artist spotlights, I see a lot of good stuff now. I see a
Yeah,
lot of quality,
yeah, yeah,
well-made stuff now with artist spotlights and things like that. But as far as the next big movie, I think we're still kind of waiting for the next good, dope, rap documentary that really hits it all and relates to the time of these writers, right? See, I wouldn't be in one now because I wouldn't relate to who we want to see now. But with the way graph has changed, with everybody repelling, with everybody going so big and massive with every endeavor, you know what I mean? It has changed a lot. It's definitely changed a lot. I
yeah.
would love to.
After the pandemic too, that's a big
Oh, definitely.
milestone.
I would love to repel, but yeah, no, I can't.
Yeah, nah,
I'm
I'm
not
cool,
dropping
bro.
off of nothing.
I'm cool, man.
I'm dropping off of nothing. Look, I need to tell my man Taste when he climb up them damn billboards. Hey, bro, I love you. I'll wait for you down here.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. I'll
I,
look
I
out for you.
love, yeah, that's right. Man, ain't nobody coming. But you ain't gonna get me to climb all the, because I'm just at an age now where I don't heal up like that. If I fall, it take a minute to get back
Oh,
right. I
facts.
can't afford to
Yeah,
take that. I don't feel invincible no more. But like I said, it doesn't change the fact the love for graph is always going to be there. You know what I mean? Like, I just love what this art form does. I'm always going to continue to try and paint, do my best, and still, like, be a fan of the game. Be a fan of the game as well. As being an artist, I'm still a fan of graph.
me too, bro. Me too. I relate to a lot of what you're saying. It's been really dope having this conversation with you.
Ah,
Um,
man, I appreciate you, man.
hopefully, it's gonna be there's gonna be many more to come. and we definitely gotta get some spots together, either on this coast or the East Coast. You know what I mean?
If I pop up, I'm on you. If you pop up, come see me.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's how it goes.
I think I'm overdue. I gotta hit New York. I gotta hit Philly. I gotta hit a couple spots and take
Hey,
this
it's
thing on the
nothing
road.
like getting out, man, and checking out those other scenes, man. Why you think I miss the West so much, man? I
Yeah.
miss going to the yards out there. I mean, I love my stuff here, but I miss going back over there, man. You might see me sooner than you know.
Keep me posted, because now we're locked in, and let's just continue to build, bro. If you ever need my support, I'm right here.
Man, you are awesome, man. What you've been doing for Graff Culture, I just want to say thank you, man, because ever since you started these podcasts, I've been trying to check them out. And I like the way that you'll do the music. And sometimes you'll find the music artist that can relate to the graph. Sometimes you find the graph artist that can relate to the music. You know, it pertains to what you love. And I think as long as you're doing your passion, that's what us people want. People want I want something with substance. You know what I'm saying? Podcasts are dope, but you can only like look at No Jumper for so long
Oh yeah,
before it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm done. You know
No,
what I mean? Like I
yeah.
don't feel like wasting my time with this. I want to see something thorough. And far too many writers uh, haven't gotten the spotlight they deserve. I like that you've done that on the West Coast, man. Some dope writers that you focused on that I'm like, oh yeah, that's the homie. You know what I mean? And I think that's important, man, because there are artists out here that are graffiti writers that are important to graffiti. They may not be important to somebody else, but they're important to graffiti. You know what I mean? And I like the fact that we still got people that are creating, the narrative to really look at that history.
I appreciate it, man. And you got ties to the Bay, but pretty soon I'm gonna be expanding more too, and just try to get more people from other regions, and just keep
Got to.
spotlighting. Take
You
this thing
got to.
global. Yeah,
You got to. Because they're there. They're
yeah,
everywhere. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And I'm tied to the Bay like an anchor, baby. I ain't never going out. Stop coming to the Bay. That's my spot. That's my spot. That's my spot, man. Best weed, best taco trucks ever.
That's real talk. You ain't lying.
Hey, man. Hey, look, they ain't gonna tell you breakdance on Fishing New York, but yeah, that's real.
Okay. Wow. Damn. Yeah. You
Hey,
really.
that's how we used to panhandle for money, man.
Mm.
It used to cost a dime to get on the Muni.
Yeah. Hell
15
yeah.
cents. 15 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we'd be right across that bridge, right? Knocking it up. Getting them dollars, baby. And
Wow.
I spend all mine on the seafood and they go.
Yeah. There you go. Well, that's what's up, bro. We got it documented. So,
Peace. That's what's
Enem,
up,
the
bro.
one and only, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Dregs, you the best.
Likewise, fam.
Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay. Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay.